Again. So you're probably wondering why I'm purple. You're probably wondering why I'm all purple. So for my birthday present, I was gifted my own little signage. I have nowhere to put it right now, so it's just going to be at the side. And I'll hopefully put it up somewhere eventually. But yeah, big shout out to my husband for getting me that. Supporting my channel. So in my last video, I think I did, if it was my last video, I did two true stories on some survivals at sea. So I'm gonna just kind of continue with that trend at the moment, and I've got two more survival stories from people at sea. So yeah, let's get into it. So in 1981, a sailor or seaman called Callaghan left from Newport in Rhode Island and sailed on his yacht, the Napoleon, sailing solo. This again was based on a movie called Adrift, 176 Days at Sea.
Taking it step by step, I was pretty experienced in the environment, and basically I had to learn to live like an aquatic caveman. And you know, just addressing one priority after another, water, food, and you know, over time, just learning how to adapt to living on that environment.
David, when you hear about Louis Jordan's story, I mean, I think one of the things that's shocked a lot of us is how good he looked when he got off of this ocean.
On a 69.5 metre boat that he himself designed and built. He was headed to Bermuda, then to England, and then to England with his friend Chris. He was headed for Australia in a mini race that he was taking a part in. He would later drop out of this race when he reached La Cruz, I'll put it here, I'm not sure if I even said that right, in Spain. He dropped out due to bad weather, which is coincidentally, everything's an issue when it's bad weather, obviously. Now this bad weather had already reportedly sunk other ships or boats, but Callaghan managed to continually fix his boat and keep it afloat whilst he was still at sea. He would then continue sailing but not taking part in the race after many fixtures, and he would be sailing from Spain to Portugal to Madeira and then the Canaries. On the 29th of January 1982, he would leave Spain and head to Antigua. In the storm that he hit, 7 days into the storm, he would eventually experience issues with his boat, having been busted up already and fixed it many times. You're talking like putting duct tape here and there and just trying your best to keep going. And then from this, his boat became swamped, so he had no choice but to leave it and go onto a life raft.
This land I would reach would be about 2,000 statute miles away, 1,800 nautical miles away, and at the pace that a raft would drift, it would be basically as if you got down on all fours and crawled to Colorado. I had a few pounds of food, I had 8 pints of water, enough to survive for about 8 days, which wasn't enough to get me even to the shipping lanes. Kind of focus on being functional and not give way to all the fear that I had also at the same time. It was really tough. In the morning I would get up, I would still do my exercises as best I could and whatnot, but I was in a very weakened state. And it was very, very hot, and I called it the afternoon bake-off. And I was all I could do just to stay conscious and tend to my solar stills and get a little bit of water.
His boat was taking on too much water in the watertight compartments that he had created. He also believed that it wasn't just the water, but the main issue was that he felt his boat at some point may have been hit by a whale, which caused more damage to it. So he would eventually escape into a 6-person raft. During the time that his boat was sinking, he would manage to collect some cushion, a spare gun, guns, flashlights, solar stills, an emergency sleeping bag, and his own copy of How to Survive at Sea by Douglas Robertson. He just happened to be another ocean survivor, so I'm guessing he was using him to help. Yeah. Now up until that point that he was collecting all his stuff, his raft was still attached to his boat. But eventually, maybe due to the weakness of the rope or the storm damage, I'm not sure, but the raft eventually snapped free and became detached from his boat, and the boat sank. As a result, Callaghan would drift further away out to sea. He would be south of the equator current at this point. Callaghan said that at this point he was basically living like an aquatic caveman. His diet would now consist of mali, triggerfish, which he caught with his spear gun, flying fish, barnacles, and any seabirds he can get his hands on. He would be lost at sea and drift around for 176 days. With his solar stills, he managed to collect drinking water. I believe it's a gadget where you can put it basically in like dirty water in a canal or a lake, and it basically sterilises it or takes all the muck out of it, makes it drinkable. He would collect a pint of water a day from rainwater. Sadly, his radio and his flares did not help him to be rescued. He did have an EPIRB, which is an emergency position indicating radio beacon, but the signals were not monitored by any passing ships or planes at that time. Also in a very isolated area of the sea, which is not really passed through by boats or shipment or even aircraft. I think in some places or in some countries they probably have like cargo ship routes where they'll have a route where they know it's going to be safe at sea, or a diversion if it's not safe in that particular way. At least they're being monitored, people are able to contact them, they know where to look for if they've gone off route. So yeah. Now even though he says he saw 9 ships during this adrift at sea, ships reported nothing or did not report seeing him at all. And he was also in a lane crossover, which is it's usually known as a continued use of route on a sea lane or sea route. Yeah. So even though it was a constantly used pathway through the sea to get from A to B, he was never seen. Callaghan said that to avoid trying to lose his mind and trying not to lose hope, he continued to focus on survival. He would even use his own little boat to do some small exercises. He did say that he would get sores from the salt on his body, and sometimes those sores would open and more salt would get in them and make it worse, but he just had to survive. In 1982, in April, on the 20th, he spotted lights. It was Island Marie Galante, southeast of Guadalupe. I'll try and put that name here. And this was in the Caribbean. The very next day he was picked up by fishermen. Apparently, according to fishermen, they only saw him because the ecosystem that Callaghan had created on his raft to keep him to survive, and barnacles, the fish, the food animals, whatever, it attracted the birds off the ocean, off the shore of the ocean, off the island. So this was what they made them investigate what was going on. I'm not sure if they thought it was a shark or a whale, I'm not sure, but yeah, luckily they did investigate and found him. Callaghan said that during his adrift days he suffered from physical weakness, equipment breakage, punctures, battling sharks, and mental stress. When he was found, he had lost 1/3 of his body weight and was unrecognisable. He did receive hospital care when he left that evening. Maybe due to his survival technique, he was not too bad. He just needed a bit of a restoration, as you might say. He would spend weeks recovering on the island still, and was said to be hitchhiking up the West Indies on boats. So luckily his experience did not really scare him from travelling on boats still. Some people it does, some people it doesn't. Callaghan said that one thing he enjoyed about being adrift, the only thing he enjoyed, was being a part of the night sky every night. It was just blissful to look at. He quote saying, "It was like a view from a seat of hell." He still loves to sail, like I say. He says it's the world's great wilderness at sea. He still sails, but never. And even though he does sail, he does not do it alone anymore. So that was Callaghan. I did have another, but I don't want to make this too long because I'm going to put some interviews of Callaghan on this video as well, so you can see yourself what he looked like, what he experienced. Yeah, and that'll make it a bit longer if I had another one. But saying that, if you would like to see another video based on a true life survival story, comment down below, and I would love to get into that. And yeah, I'm sure there is another one. There's loads, to be honest, but yeah. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below, like I said, if you've heard about this guy, or if you would like, again, to look at any other survival stories, and I will try to look at them, like I've just said. Let me know if you like my aesthetics. But yeah, until next time, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Good night and God bless.